This week on episode 288 of the Cinema Psycho Show, we are tackling the classic horror comedy Death Becomes Her with special guest, burlesque star, dancer, director, and the leading actress behind the new gonzo horror comedy Bloody Bridget, Anastasia Elfman.
Oh, goody, goody, here it comes.
Welcome to the Cinema Psycho Show.
You are interested in the unknown, the mysterious, the unexplainable. That is why you are here.
Oh my God, don't stop now!
With your hosts, Brian, John, and Elaine.
Welcome to the Cinema Psycho Show, the madhouse for film freaks and film fans of all types. I'm your host, Brian Coddington, joined by my fellow co-host and filmmaker, John Woolscroft.
Good news, Brian.
What?
I think we found Princess Anastasia.
Oh, that was a good one. I was waiting to see how you were going to do a transition into this, but we are on episode 288, and again, keeping with spooky season, we felt it was necessary that we cover a movie that I'm quite honestly surprised that we haven't touched yet, because it's pretty groundbreaking, and then on top of that, it's just a really fucking hilarious movie.
I'm afraid if we touch it, it might break or crack.
It might break, crap,
yeah.
or paint, chip, or something like that. But we're talking about Death Becomes Her. And to talk about a movie like Death Becomes Her, you kind of have to have a really good guest. And I think we have a really good guest with us. Yeah. We're joined today by, and she really is kind of a Renaissance woman. Like, I was looking up about you, and you've got you wear a lot of hats. Probably fantastic hats, but you're a dancer, burlesque performer, director, and actress, and you are the main actress behind a new movie that's hitting film festivals and screens, Bloody Bridget. We're joined by Anastasia Elfman today. Anastasia, welcome to the podcast.
Yes, thank you. Hello.
Yeah, forget Princess Anastasia. We got Queen. we got the Queen in the house.
We got the Queen here. Queen here.
Thank you.
This is kind of a big deal.
It's kind of a big deal. So Anastasia reached out on social media and was saying, I'd like to be on a podcast. And I poked my hand up and I said, I have a podcast. And because I've been following Bloody Bridget, but you know, the movie that you and your husband have worked on, your husband being Richard Elfman. And it's a bonkers movie from just the stills that I've been seeing. And like I tried scouring the internet trying to find a trailer of it, because I think at one time you guys did put out a trailer, and I haven't been able to find it. Recently.
Oh no. Well, there should be at least one trailer out there.
But it's an insane like vampire film, right? Is it kind of like Vampire Voodoo with a lot of weird bizarro imagery, which I just love?
I mean, it's just a classic Richard Elfman original, fun, campy film. I mean, he wouldn't want me to say campy, but it's bizarro. It's a wild time.
That's a good word.
Bizarro
horror.
You Elfmans are quirky.
A little bit.
Oh, you're gonna give me more wrinkles.
But you know what? When I talked to Anastasia originally, I was like, bring a movie that you want a guest review on. And I know that Anastasia, you had a lot of trouble landing on this one, right? Like there were a lot of movies that you just love.
Oh man, you were so kind and understanding, because we're right in. We kind of just started in the middle of the film festival. There's so much going on, so I'm juggling so many hats because this is like, we self-financed this movie. We're putting it through its festival run, ourselves and all of that. And so and plus I'm a mom and trying to be a good wife. So I'm just all over the place. But you were so kind and understanding and reminding me that I, yes, indeed, do have to pick only one film, because I had probably like, I don't know, somewhere around like 80 contenders when I look at my list. It was so hard to narrow it down.
I was totally prepared for you to throw me a Lon Chaney Sr. movie. I was like, she's gonna give me like Hunchback or
the Unholy Three. I mean, come on, yeah.
Or you would be the one person who has London After Midnight, and I'd be like, oh my
God, I wish.
Where do you have that at?
And the only basement in Hollywood We have one. It's probably down there somewhere in the 6th dimension.
In the 6th dimension. That's awesome.
Well, wait, hold on, Brian. Crap. I think I watched Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. I think I watched the wrong movie.
You might have watched the wrong movie.
It's the basic. It's the same premise. Same thing.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Interchangeable. You know, there's blondes. It's fine. We'll make do.
No, but yeah, thank you for picking this movie.
Seriously.
As we were talking before we came on, like, what an undeservingly kind of forgotten movie, which is so surprising to say because at this time, Bruce Willis is one of the biggest movie stars in the world. Meryl Streep was, and always will be one of the greatest actresses who ever lived. And it's Robert Zemeckis. We got Back to the Future. We got, Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I mean, like, this guy was at the top of his game. How does this movie just escape?
And don't forget about our Goldie Hawn.
Yeah, don't forget Goldie Hawn.
She's no either. She's holding it up there with Meryl. The three of them are insane in this film. It's so good.
So just quick question for both of you. When was the first time that you saw this movie?
Anastasia, do you want me to go first since you're the guest?
Sure, that gives me time to think.
Yeah. I actually... I saw it when my family was on vacation, and the big family vacation was we would go to North Carolina because my mom's a psychologist, works all the time, and what she would want to do is get to the beach by like 10 a.m., and she didn't really drink back then, so she'd take like a big giant thermos of coffee and her new John Grisham book, and we wouldn't see her for like 8 hours. But on the way back... But on the way back, we would always like stop to do Busch Gardens, heading back towards Pennsylvania. And we'd get a hotel, and we'd always like rent a movie in the hotel. And one year we rented was Death Becomes Her. And I remember just loving this movie because I loved like gothic type of imagery. I think it's because of Tim Burton, and growing up with movies like The Addams Family and stuff. So that kind of like spooky mansion kind of, and then like I was also the kind of kid that like a woman's head turning around. I was like, that's funny. That didn't scare me. I thought so. I was just so entertained by this. Yeah.
Women.
They're so mysterious.
Yeah. They're more flexible than us fellers, But yeah, I remember seeing it and loving it. And then I've checked it out many times. Like I would either rent it from the video store or as we talked about, it would come on cable. And it's one of those movies that doesn't matter if you're 45 minutes in, 10 minutes in, near the end. It's just like, oh, shit, let's leave this on. It's Death Becomes Her,
Yes. I mean, for myself, I don't have a, like, exact date when I watched it, but I do know that, I probably rented from some local, like, movie store, probably, knowing me, probably just based on the cover art itself, because I'm still like that. I'll watch a movie, know nothing about it, but if I like the cover art, I'm sold,
Anastasia, we're gonna need a specific date and time and time of day.
Oh no. Okay.
No, you're good.
Yeah.
I know these questions, they always get me.
But it's funny you should meant the cover art because I remember speaking with somebody who does like he's one of the few remaining like true cover artists who do like like the guy that did Harry Potter posters and Star Wars posters. I'm forgetting his name, Frank. Anyways, but to do the actual drawings of them and then to paint them in is that now because of streaming, everything has to appear on a thumbnail because they have to be so small. So yeah, I don't know if you'd get a really cool poster like we got for Death Becomes Her in this day and age. Or if we did, it would not really be used for much other than, maybe like an actual poster that people would frame on a wall, so to speak.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like people are still, they're looking at stuff. You've got like that tiny little circle of a profile picture on Instagram. You know what I mean? Like there's still a little bit of room to do a nice poster.
I personally miss the days of the video store cover art.
Yeah. Well, here's a fun small universe story. A lot of people don't know this, but most movies are not scored. The trailer is not scored with the final score because they're still working on it. Mm-hmm. And so I was like just watching a bunch of stuff. I'm like, oh, I'll watch the trailer for Death Becomes Her again. And wouldn't you know it, the music they use for that trailer is your brother-in-law's theme for Tales from the Crypt.
Oh my God. I know.
Yep.
They use that all the time. And I'm like, wait a second. Wait, this doesn't add up. This does not compute. This is wrong, you know? I'm like, why does this not fit? This is wrong.
Well, I mean, it's because Zemeckis was one of the people in charge of Tales from the Crypt, so like he had access to the music.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah. But me, I encountered this movie right when the publicity for it was going on. Like I remember in '92, like seeing the trailer for this, and I'm like, this is fucking awesome. Of course, in '92, I was like 6, so I couldn't watch it at the time in the theaters. But that's the beautiful thing about HBO, and longtime listeners of the podcast will know that pretty much HBO, at least I think John, you and I are in the same boat as this, was kind of our doorway to movies and things that we probably should not have seen back then. Oh, yeah. And this was one of them.
People need things like that. I mean, kids are so sheltered today. There were probably a bunch of stuff that I shouldn't have been seeing when I saw it. And a lot of people that know me real well go, well, John, you're all messed up. but no, I think it really helped, nurture myself as an artist, and of course, this is one of the ones though that I was watching with my parents and they went, well, he's laughing. So who cares? It's all right. Yeah.
No, completely. I mean, I feel like I was exposed to so much horror and like in films and weird cinema, and I kind of grew up watching a lot of silent films and classic films as well, so I have like a huge admiration for I mean, I'm a huge film nerd all over the place, not just genre but just noir classics, all that kind of stuff, but definitely kind of warped my silly little brain watching things way too early. But I also wouldn't change that, and I try to keep that in mind when I'm sharing my favorite things, my favorite films with our daughter who's 15 right now. But like we do a lot of having her lead it, like when she's interested or seems curious, kind of exposing her to different kind of like classic horror films or like gateway horror, like Hocus Pocus, or obviously she was like raised on Beetlejuice and stuff, so she's fine with that. But Gremlins, these type of, even Death Becomes Her is one of her favorite films, and she recently, I mean, I guess it's been a year now maybe, but she saw John Carpenter's The Thing for the first time in theater at the Alamo. Yeah, and that's now her favorite, and she went in kind of in costume and stuff like that. so we're doing it when she's comfortable. For me, when I was growing up, it was kind of just like, you're in different time, like you're just gonna watch whatever, you know. But it also, like, I don't know, I think I'm doing okay, maybe.
I think you're doing great.
Yay!
So Death Becomes Her. If you've never seen this movie, it's basically the story of Madeline Ashton. Basically, Meryl Streep playing a hyper narcissistic version of herself,
or a bit of a has-been.
Movie.
Like, yeah, I thought she was dead. She was huge in the 60s, kind of thing. Yeah.
They sure make it seem like that. The time periods don't really add up, do they?
Not overly, no. I maybe there was a handful of rewrites on this bad boy. I'm not sure, and the premise of this movie revolves around people just aging, even though it's that Hollywood ideal that women are not allowed to get older in any way, shape, or form. And even though both of our female leads in this movie, first we get introduced to Meryl Streep and then to Goldie Hawn, even though that they're beautiful, the idea is they're not allowed to age even a second.
Nope.
So, eventually in the movie, Meryl Streep goes to Isabella Rossellini's character, who gives her this potion, and it's a classic monkey's paw kind of thing, where it's, I made it that you'll never age, but that doesn't mean that your body won't, or that you'll live forever, but you're gonna fall apart over time. And
take care of your body, and your body will take care of you.
Very, very interesting premise, and a very much a not traditional role here for Big Bad Bruce in this.
Oh,
we got John McClane, we got the Last Boy Scout, we got all these.
Hudson Hawk. He had done Hudson Hawk the year before.
Yeah, he's either a badass, a smartass, or for some reason, like very much sexy time man in a lot of movies.
Is he? Okay.
But in this one, he's like, yeah, he's just this dorky, dweeby guy who gets taken advantage of by everybody. So, yeah, really kind of a nice step out of the box for Bruce here after Kevin Kline turned it down because they weren't going to pay him enough bucks.
Oh man, but he played it so beautifully, so against type, as you were saying, and just how he embodied the character. Like when you're watching, I mean, hopefully no spoilers at this point, but when you're watching him in the hospital running down the hallway, like it's a full body choices that these are active choices, and as an actor that he's making, and they're so hot and they're so strong. It's incredible to watch him just like dive into this character, because it's his whole body, you know, instead of being, as you were saying, like the hunky action hero guy, he's like this hunched over, kind of knees bent, shuffling around doofus guy who was once great.
I love the fact that he basically, like in the beginning of this movie, he's very much just like an alcoholic drunk who's just done with life, and like as soon as all the crazy zombie shit happens, he turns into a cartoon character. And I really believe that if you like, I know everyone when they're talking about this movie, a lot of times they'll like settle on Goldie Hawn and Meryl Streep, but if you don't have Bruce Willis's reaction to all of this stuff, it won't work. Like I really believe that.
He's a proverbial straight man, and he's also the audience surrogate, but you know, of like, what is happening around me?
I love the fact that when Madeline goes to get the gun, like his head, he sees the gun rack, and he does like a cartoon double take. And like I was watching it last night in preparation, I still bust out laughing.
It's so good. And just the way that everybody plays it so straight, that's the comedy of it. You know, they're living in it. And that's where the gags are, you know, and the writing, these lines, they're so good. She had it coming. Like what?
She had it coming.
Well, can we speak to that?
You know?
Can we discuss kind of what I would say like is that early 90s cynicism that came with movies. You know, this reminds me of like Addams Family and other movies at that time, where it's like everybody is somewhat of a monster and there's no forgiving of anything on anybody. Like it's like, oh, you want to stay young so you can stay famous, then you're just a rich vapid bitch, you know. And it's just like there's no gray area with the 90s apparently on any of this stuff, and just like this cynicism is delicious in this movie. What do you guys think?
Where did that go? Why can't we have that in films now? Why aren't they shooting films like this anymore? Like there's such an art and the lighting, it to me, okay, I this is one of my favorite films, but to me, it's a masterpiece and a perfect film. If you look at it from beginning to end, if you look at the sets, everybody, it almost reminds me in a way, acting-wise, like how Seinfeld, everybody on Seinfeld, even the day players, the girlfriends we see once, they're all so great and believable. Everybody on, on this film, everybody, Dakota, you know, the woman when Madeline's trying to get another treatment, she has an accent.
The blood transfusion.
She drops the accent. Everybody, even the dogs, they're great.
Yeah, no, I think what you're pointing to is definitely in the nail on the head. I mean, I think the reason why you don't see movies like this anymore is it's original.
Yeah.
When was the last time you saw a truly original movie in this vein?
Well, Brian, I do think that there is a bit of like Gen X cynicism that kind of went out with them. Like this, another one that jumped into my head was Scrooged. You know, this has like very much Scrooge vibes. And
I love Scrooged so much. This is like the second time in like 3 days, Sean, you've brought up Scrooge. I'm just saying that, but
hey, you know what? Apparently, it's had a lasting impact. What can I say?
But I think the writing in just I view everything through like, post-production lens, because that's what I do. But like the cutting of this too, like the editing of this lends itself tremendously to the gags in this. Like you have the moment where, you have a line said and then immediately cut to, the reaction to that line. Like I think when they go to the hospital, it's because, Madeline says, "I think I need to see a doctor," after she falls down the stairs.
She slipped down the stairs, of course.
You push me down the stairs. Yeah. But like those sorts of like very quick jumps to the next scene, and even like the scenes where Madeline's crying in the car, like on the drive back from Dakota's, like it almost looks like it's crying it's raining inside the car. Like those are gags you just don't see anymore.
No, it's so great. It's cut so quick. There's no air for the joke to it lands. Everything. Yeah. Almost every line I feel like is quotable. She's in the morgue. She's going to be furious. Like now a warning. Like what? There's so
well. Even when like Bruce Willis is talking to that, it's a less quotable line, but it's just something that just speaks to kind of like, again, John, kind of that Gen X nature of this movie. Bruce Willis is getting lauded for his amazing ability to like, do up dead bodies at a party for Goldie Hawn's character. And like a woman comes up to him just like, "You did such an amazing job on my aunt. Can you tell me what the secret to your success your success is?" And he just up front says, "Yeah, it's automotive spray paint." And then just goes on a diatribe about the brilliance of automotive spray paint because, well, the pores are so dried up, regular makeup's not going to work. You'd have to mash it in there. And and the camera holds on him the whole time he's going through this, and then immediately cuts back to the reaction of the person who asked the question. It's horrified, and you laugh because it's so funny.
Like, you got to hand it to like the Dick Zemeckis. So I'm going to talk like I'm in the industry. Because Anastasia, you're in the industry, so I'm gonna be a big one. Yeah, what are you talking about, Dickie Zemeckis? But Richard Zemeckis, like, everything pays off, and I don't know if that's because with something like Back to the Future, like all the gags are based on things coming full circle, or if he's just that good of a writer. But yeah, everything is a setup and payoff, and this movie is no different for that kind of thing.
Completely.
Now, I do want to talk a little bit about, because we talked about Madeline a little bit. We talked a little bit about Bruce Willis. We haven't talked about Goldie Hawn in this. So Goldie Hawn has one of the weirdest transformations that I've ever seen a actors go through. So in the beginning of this movie, it takes place in 1978. So they managed to take Goldie Hawn, who is a beautiful actress, and they frumpied her up.
Yeah, I will say that about this movie is like it maybe does have a lot of outdated women tropes. Like, oh no, my entire like existence, even though I'm a writer, is based on my relationship with this man, and if that other woman steals him from me, I'm just gonna become a fat cat lady who just shuts herself in out of the world. It's like,
but
you can tell hero,
but it's also lending to the trope of the whole film, though, like that's kind of what the whole film's about too. It's like all of these just classic, it's greed, it's lust, it's forever young, and seeing one of the main characters go through that, it's just like that's the entire story. So it's, I mean, I hope they don't ever remake this, but they probably will. They're probably going to lose that, which is so a part of like integral to the story. I feel like
I'm sure it'll probably be a streaming show on one of like Hulu's Death Becomes Her. It'll be an 8-parter.
But I don't like remakes that much, so I'm not the audience for it.
Yeah, I love how, like, with her, they make her a frumpy writer, and then they're just like, yes, let's make her in a fat suit, as you said, John, crazy cat lady, who is obsessed with watching Madeline get murdered in a movie. Like, again, there's just so many good gags in this. She's literally eating like marshmallow fluff,
like frosting
on a couch.
Yeah,
it should have been bonbons.
No, it's even they were going for gross. Like it's even now, like it's one of those like, oh, I don't know if I can watch that. But she's eating like either frosting or marshmallow fluff while watching Madeline get killed in a movie, and she watches it over and over and over again to the point where she gets then evicted because she's a crazy cat lady, and she ends up in the psycho ward, and they're just like, hey, do you want to talk about what's going on? What are you going to talk about? And they're all like on pins and needles. Madeline, damn it.
You bet I want to talk.
And all I gotta say is Bruce Willis' character Ernest, like how big of a pipe is he swinging that like it could ruin somebody's life that bad to lose it? I don't know, because he doesn't really seem that interesting of a guy. So man, he must be a horse times 2 down there. I don't know. That's all I'm wondering. But maybe that's why he's like so like calm and chill of a guy until shit gets bad. Is that like he's like he knows what he has between his legs.
Yeah,
he can't run without hurting his knees. That's all I'm saying.
You're really obsessing over this dick, aren't you? just really obsessing over it, Yeah. But yeah, what are your thoughts on Goldie Hawn in her many different versions in this?
Well, this was interesting because I don't know if you were talking to me, but I'm going to answer.
I mean, it's kind of a conversation. So yeah, we didn't jump in.
Anastasia, I was counting the pause in my head. If you didn't jump in, I was like, I'm going to give it 2.
I just imagine us both standing there and then pushing each other out of the way to answer.
Yeah.
Every time there's like,
get out of my way, Elfman.
Trip. Watch out for that banana peel. Anyways, what was I gonna say? With Goldie, it's like she's known so much for her comedy chops, which she's a fantastic. She's an incredible comedian, but there's such nuance in these performances with everybody. There's some interesting drama happening, especially when the ladies have their fight with the shovel.
Oh yeah,
and I forget what the other one had, but.
They both had shovels.
I was thinking that. I was like, no, they don't have. Okay, yeah. But it gets kind of deep in there for a little bit, Well,
she got actually hurt.
Yeah.
Goldie got actually cut by the shovel during those scenes. So I think that she actually has gone on record saying like she hated her time working on this movie.
Oh no, I can believe it though.
Well, I mean, you got to figure the woman has to be in like 3 different versions of herself. A fat suit, probably have to eat whatever the prop department came up with for marshmallow fluff or icing, and you got to eat it like multiple takes. And then on top of that, you have to wear like probably green for where you should get shot in the stomach and be covered in water, and then you get cut by a shovel
on accident, so you're not even ready for it.
On
it's
accident.
An actual thing happening. That's got to be frightening, because everybody's trying to be safe, I imagine, on set, and then all of a sudden, I mean, accidents happen.
Well, Brian, as you had mentioned, the term like gags, which is we're industry speaking again. When I talk about Bobby Zemeckis, let me tell you something. Gags is a term for movies with a lot of special effects, whether practical or digital, and now today, I think like most actors are used to standing in a giant green room where they talk to them on the earpiece while they're, and they're acting their lines with a tennis ball on a string. Mm-hmm. Back when this came out, like Meryl Streep and Goldie Hawn had to be like, wait, I have to do what? You want me to do? I have to be in that for how long? I got to stand here for what? So it had to be a very, very taxing shoot, especially if you've never, ever done this before. These kind of movies.
Totally.
It's the opposite of taxing if you're playing like a really emotional character as compared to like, it's taxing in the other way of I have to physically stand here in this horrible special effects appliance for hours,
Especially when like this stuff is brand new. Like that's the thing I don't think a lot of people realize. A lot of people point to Jurassic Park as Oh yeah, that movie is what, pioneered VFX. And to some degree that's correct, but in actuality, it's this movie. This movie was the first time that the texture of skin was digitally created.
Yeah, they were inventing new tech.
Yeah, that's just insane.
It's easy when it's a liquid Terminator or a Velociraptor, but when it has to be a real person, and you have to notice, like, oh my God, their head's on backwards and they're walking around.
What I'm saying, John, is like even the texture of the Velociraptor, that got its properties from what was discovered in making this film. Like a lot of people don't understand, like skin tone's just not just one color. It's made up of like 20 to 30 different shades and varying saturation levels. So like, and then you also have to accompany like light refraction and all sorts of things that like to try to simulate that in a digital space when a couple years prior with like The Abyss, you had the first time that a photorealistic like effect of any kind was made is insane. And then on top of that, these are done in a like mixture of practical with CGI. So you have the blending that has to happen. It's just insane how much went into the VFX to make this work. And I really think that this movie doesn't get nearly as much love for that fact as, say, Jurassic Park and Terminator 2 do.
And before we kind of jump into, how this movie, except for, the setup of the beginning of our characters and how they get the potions, this movie is amazingly so brilliant because it all basically takes place in one location of two women beating the ever-living piss out of each other. Why do you guys think this movie is so forgotten, other than it being a huge cult classic? Like, why is this movie not talked about in the vein of like revolutionary special effects movies or cutting-edge black comedy movies of the 90s, with the guy who directed it and the stars of the movie? Like, how did this movie just kind of like fall through the cracks?
Anastasia, you want to go ahead?
Heck, if I knew, I have no idea. But to me, it's like it's a classic, and I feel like I've just always known it. So I'm always shocked whenever somebody has never seen this film. Like, what are you talking about? Like, this is an iconic film. So I don't know. I mean, I know genre in general kind of gets, not as much, I don't want to say support, but it's not as respected, even though it should be, because the stuff that we're pulling off in genre films, it's not easy,
Well, genre films, they've consistently always been, I always say that we're the redhead stepchildren of entertainment. Like, they need us. they need the genre films because, let's be honest here, they make money.
No, there's
right?
definitely an audience, and that's the silly thing about it. It's like, okay, not to, because like I love cinema in general, but like I'm just like, I don't know if we need another like Marvel film or something, or like a reboot of a weird like Star Wars thing that's hardly even Star Wars anymore. Like, get us some more original ideas. Like, there's audience that are like begging for it, but it's like they got to go out and support it, and because at the end of the day, it's like the people wearing the suits, they're the ones cutting the checks, and if it's not an easy kind of, I don't want to say like, like success, you know what I mean? Like, they're not taking chances.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, that's it right there, is lack
it's
of
like
chances.
They just want to keep on doing these remakes, and like I love the films, but it's like we got to get more diverse cinema going out there.
I had seen an interview with somebody who is, I think it might have been like Max Landis, John Landis's kid, for those who don't know him, and I think he had said that he had talked to a handful of executives, and they said that there used to be an era where it was a genre type movie. Like, it was a Western was always going to make money, or an action movie was always going to make money. And then there was another era where it was like, whose name do you have on the poster? If it's Humphrey Bogart or something, the movie's going to make money. If you have Bogey in the movie, it's going to make money. And recently, with the exception of like you said, Marvel, there is no way for them to guarantee success any longer, except for one thing: nostalgia.
Yep.
And that is why, you get like a soft Gremlins reboot, or a soft reboot of this, or Back to the Future soft reboot, whatever.
But it's also it's reboots of like people who aren't fans in general. So it's like, why would I can't even say what I'm about to say. So, but it's like if they were fans, then they would know what kind of a reboot we want. Like I don't know if I want to watch a freaking like CGI version of something that I am a fan because it's practical. You know what I mean?
Well, Anastasia, you hit the nail right on the head there. Like, I love movie I just mentioned. I love Back to the Future. Love it. Love the whole trilogy and everything. If they came to me and they said, John, we want you to remake Back to the Future because you're such a fan, I would say I don't want to because it's fine. The person that's going to be remaking these things are people that are like, well, I don't really give a crap. I'll remake it. I don't have an attachment to this or what have you.
Yeah, that's where we're losing the magic, because it's like there's magic that's captured in these certain things, and there's a performance. Not to say that CGI there's not a performance there, because there is, and I did practical effects professionally for years, and I do all of our second unit, like costuming, makeup, props, that kind of stuff on the films that I do with my husband. So like I have an affinity for practical, but in a perfect world, I think there's a marriage between like having a creature, something that's like a majority practical, but is augmented by VFX. That like there's a marriage between them, the kind of like what they did like on The Walking Dead. Like there's just things where like you don't see it, like you can't figure it out. But there's definitely like there's a spirit in practical like puppets and costumes and creature actors. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But I'm also incredibly biased with that kind of stuff because I did it professionally, and like all of my favorite films are all very like heavy practical things.
See, I should have been a Buddhist. I'm not, but I do believe that there is a beauty in the middle ground. We talked about other movies in this, we talked about Terminator 2 and Jurassic Park. And I think the reason that those movies hold up is that there's a combination of stop motion, CGI, puppetry, trick photography. It's just whatever is appropriate for the moment and not reliance too much on one or the other. But
yes, and isn't it the same cinematographer from Death Becomes Her and isn't it both Back to the Future and Jurassic Park?
Yeah, it was Dean
Cundey.
Dean Cundey, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so you've got that magic going. I love it when directors and cinematographers work when they have that kind of rapport and history together, and you get that same kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Well, Brian, you had mentioned being the horror special effects people being the redheaded stepchild of it, and all I could think was, you want to point your fucking finger and say, that's the bad guy. But, I do think that some people are, even though this movie, I would say, is very, very much more a comedy than it is a horror movie, because like tone can get you far, because this movie's PG-13 when if this movie had been darker, or maybe, for lack of a better way to phrase it, taking itself more seriously, like more dark, this movie could have easily been an R.
Oh, absolutely.
Jurassic Park could have been an R, but it was more of this is more fantasy than it is terror,
Well, also, I feel like the ratings are so, like, flexible back then, too.
Yeah.
Like, you're looking at some stuff that, like, is, like, just rated PG, and you're like, what?
Yeah, Temple of Doom, anybody? But
exactly.
Well, let's also be honest here. I mean, the ratings board really is only looking at, okay, did you drop an F-bomb? Is there sex in it?
Is there a beeb? Yeah.
Is there a boob? And there isn't. Like, it's just like there's one scene where Goldie Hawn talks about sex, and that's it. And it's very awkward.
Yeah. But just to kind of like, finish that point, is that I really do think, horror in general is the redheaded stepchild. Because I think of another movie that came out a handful of years later that is great, but nobody remembers the damn thing, and that was The Frighteners.
Great
Oh
movie.
man, really? Yeah.
Yeah, and that movie's kind of
It's so
forgotten time,
great.
but again, it's a horror thing that is actually, I'd say, very approachable to all audiences, but I think a lot of people ignored it because there's a ghost movie made by some guy named Peter Jackson. Oh, he'll never be anybody, you know.
And
Yeah.
how about that
No.
score, huh?
Yeah.
Not too shabby.
Not too shabby.
I just want to say for the record, I've mentioned Scrooge and The Frighteners, and I swear it's been coincidence. It's just, that brother-in-law keeps his ass busy. I'm just saying.
I know, he doesn't sleep. It's fine.
Doesn't sleep.
What was he? Simpsons, Beetlejuice, Batman.
Oh man, you're gonna lose your voice just naming off just everything, you know. No, he's a genius. We're just so lucky that he shares his talents with us, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Definitely.
But I think that's kind of that and the cynical nature of it, but also I'd say back in the early 90s, the film reviewer was king in a way. Now people go, if the critics don't like it, then I'm going to love it. Back then, if Siskel and Ebert didn't give you a thumbs up, you might struggle at the box office. And Brian, your best friend Roger Ebert was not too kind to this movie.
No, he was not. He was kind of a dick. And it's par for the course. Let's be honest here. I think with this movie especially, John, you mentioned that the fact that it's a comedy kind of blunts some of the ratings issues that you would have. I think there's merit to that. One thing we didn't really talk too much about was the ending of this film. Like, this ending they had to reshoot it.
Because test
Completely.
audiences went boo-hoo,
Yeah.
doodly-hoo.
Yeah. So the ending originally was that, we were going to kind of follow, Ernest after he falls through a stained glass window at Liesl's and, ends up escaping from the zombie house. Let's just call it what it is. It's what it is. It's a house full of zombies. And, he eventually runs into like a bar and Tracy Ullman's there, and Tracy Ullman's supposed to be like the I guess the wife that he ends up marrying after the fact.
Yeah, and you don't cut out Tracy Ullman. Okay?
No, I was gonna say
You
he
know.
kind of just ran right over that. Like let's
Seriously.
talk about how she was completely erased from the film.
And hey,
Like,
what
could you imagine you work so hard and then you're just completely erased? I couldn't.
And if you're a nobody, I get it. But Tracy Ullman was huge at the time. Let us not forget she had a show on Fox that introduced us to a yellow-skinned family that ended up having their own TV show. Boy, what a theme song for that show, The Simpsons, huh? Now I could just do this all day.
It's really
Oh, that
easy
one?
when
Yeah. Might have
a
heard
chunk
of it.
of the themes are made by somebody.
It's him, John Williams, Alan Silvestri, and who's the guy that did the Dark Knight movies? Hans Zimmer.
Hans Zimmer.
It's
yes.
those four are the main. One of those four did your theme, anyways. But yeah, Tracy Ullman gets cut out. But Brian, how's the rest of the ending go?
Well, the ending goes to flash forwards years later, not nearly as many years as the actual ending gives you, and they're watching, I guess the two, and I think something to the effect of they get in a car crash. And they the two, Madeline and Helen get in a car crash, and that's the ending. But I guess they felt that was too happy of an ending, so they reshot it.
Which is so backwards, because usually it's test audiences are usually a family of four with fanny packs at Universal Studios who are allowed to see a sneak cut of a movie. I didn't like it because it was sad. As they eat their Universal whatever. I want to say Mickey cone, but I got to stick with the Universal theme here.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the fact that they're it's not cynical and dark and evil enough is something you don't usually hear from test audiences.
Well,
No.
The version that I heard, what I kind of, it was something like they were on holiday and they happened to see Ernest and Tracy Ullman's character just and love and older and just loving being together, and they have wrinkles, all that stuff. They're older, and then Meryl and Goldie are up and Meryl's like complaining about something, and Goldie notices that he's so in love, and that she notices that, like, you know, like she's wasted her whole life and she's just stuck with Meryl. You know, and so it was like a softer kind of ending, like a more thought-provoking. And Goldie has, you know, on interviews said that she much preferred that ending. And then Meryl on interviews also has said that she preferred the reshoot ending. And I kind of I love the new ending that we have, obviously, because it's just so different from what the original one was supposed to be. But I understand, like, Goldie's, for her character arc, I understand having that ending too. So it's hard to say which one is better, just because we never got. I mean, I wish that they would re-release it and do like some kind of, like, you know, deleted scenes mega box or something, you know, and with Ullman's stuff, you know. I mean, like, the fans are there. We all want, like, physical media. Like, give it to us.
Yeah, come on, Scream Factory.
Right? Get it together.
Yeah.
I'm going to pitch that. Watch out.
I know. I personally like the ending we got.
I do too.
It's so hard to choose, though, because, like, I haven't seen the other one, but what I saw from the interview, it was very touching. But I love I love the one that we have too.
Yeah, I think I just love the fact that it kind of it puts everything, like, it gives it a closed loop, basically. Or you rarely see movies nowadays that do that, where they give you a actual, like, a bit of finality, you know? So, like, clearly you find out that you know, Ernest was the one to live a full life and had that sense of immortality, because he wasn't just, like, you know, squandering vanity. And it also, like, I think really serves well, because if you go back in the beginning of the movie, he says at the party that he would sell his soul to be able to do surgery again. And, you know, that's mentioned early on in the movie. And then we get to the end where, you know, he never had to sell his soul. He just lived his life and embraced aging and did everything he could with the time he had. And that's, I think, what the big overarching message is. And then you couple that with, of course, you know, Helen and Madeline just, you know, in the back snickering, and, you know, Helen crying, and, you know, and it's basically like a good dichotomy right there between the two.
Yeah, even the darker end of that message too, Brian. Like, these two just doing everything they can to destroy the other so that they can live and be beloved by everyone. Yeah, and not the other, to the point where they end up screwing up not only the other, but themselves so much that they're stuck with the one person they can't stand.
Yes.
It's like, oh, now the only person I can actually connect with or be with, because I'm so messed up looking and there's no explanation on how I look, is the person that I hate the most. Like, and I guess I've grown accustomed to your broken face, as an adjusted version of that song goes. So yeah, they're going to be with each other forever. You know, the one person they hate the most.
Yeah, well, it's interesting with when you look at the arcs of everybody. It's kind of like, you know, Madeline didn't care about Ernest. She just wanted him to get back at Helen, you know, and so she ruins him, and he lets it happen with the drinking and shaky, and he can't perform, and now he's having to be an undertaker, which I guess is looked down upon in the plastic surgery world. I don't know, but it's just interesting.
It is in this movie.
Yeah, exactly. Welcome to Hollywood, I guess. But it's interesting how, you know, like, she ends up just, like, because, you know, she's got the guy. You know, if that was the thing, you know, she should be happy, but she's not. She's miserable, and she's like, just like loathing him. You know, just in the car on the way to the Helen's, like, big party. It's like, could you stop breathing? You know, like, she's so furious. She hates him so much that just the sound of his breathing, like, irks her. You know what I mean?
And then, of course, he stops breathing, which I'm just like, what? Why?
Because he's a cock. He's like, I think one of the first cinematic cocks.
I guess so. But I gotta say, this movie ends with the best line ever, and it is they fall down the stairs, of course, because that has to happen a couple times, and completely fall apart like mannequins. And Goldie Hawn's head swivels over and says, "Do you know where we parked the car?" And you have to laugh. Like, it's just so
We've
ridiculous.
all been there, right?
Yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know if I've been there.
Okay, well, in Hollywood,
broken apart.
We've been there.
Gotcha. Broken apart.
No, well, I think like we've all been there. We've all been around like, and it's usually some people we can't get away from, usually cop family, is that like we're around somebody who just drives us fucking nuts. And to the point where if this had been a situation that happened with anybody else, we would have like said something or thrown a fit. But when sometimes you're just so broken with somebody, you could just fall to pieces and go, "Where's the fucking car?" You know?
Quite literally.
You rehearsed that, didn't you, John?
I wish. Yeah.
But that's Death Becomes Her. Fantastic movie. And another fantastic movie, and Anastasia, I want to make sure that we talk about this, is Bloody Bridget.
Oh.
Your new movie.
Yeah.
So how did this movie come about? How did Bloody Bridget come about? Because you've done a lot of things. You've acted in a bunch of films. You said you worked in the effects industry for a while. So how did this particular film, where you're the star in it and it's doing, screenings across the country and now
across
doing film
the
festivals,
world,
across the world, yeah. How did it come about?
Well, I mean, I happen to be married to the creator, the writer director, so I was a shoo-in. No, I tease. I'm trying to think. Well, Rick, he is he's a director and writer, and he's also, I mean, not everybody knows, but he's a professional Latin percussionist. And he's been in a few bands, and we have a band right now called Mambo Diabolico. But during COVID, we're all kind of like cooped up, and he decided to write a new script, and it happened to be Bloody Bridget, and it's based on some Haitian voodoo deities, and yeah, that's kind of how it got started.
And you're the lead character in this, right?
Yes, I am. She's kind of like a goddess. Well,
yeah.
It's kind of like a Van Nuys burlesque dancer gets mistaken for a voodoo deity's lost wife. And so he, ends up connecting with her and gives her these supernatural powers of being a Valentine vampire. And
awesome.
It's kind of like, the Mummy meets Serpent in the Rainbow. I like it.
Kind of, yeah. Well, there's a lot of people that use and abuse her, and she gets to seek vengeance on them without giving away too much.
Yeah, I don't want you to give away too much. So what is it like when you are collaborating with your husband, right?
Make sure that you're all using more volume, guys. We all know you're talking to me, Richard. I don't know what you're saying, Anastasia. We'll talk about this later.
But what is it like?
Well, we both are performers. I come from the stage. I've been performing since I was a kid. I've been in ballet, doing ballet since I was 3. I've lived a very vaudeville-esque performance life, and he comes from the stage. He, it's Mystic Knights of the Oingo Boingo, and then touring around in France with that, and then, that turns into Oingo Boingo, and he starts to do directing. So like we have a rapport. We both understand each other. When, I don't know, it's like with our stuff, we have time to talk about like what everything is. And I like to do my certain prep, and he does his, and then, when we get to set its business. I would say maybe I'm wrong, but at least people tell me that they didn't even realize we were married, because we're so professional on set, So
That's
and
awesome.
he also watches it with me. He watches his little Tude with me. I keep him in line, let's say. No, I'm just joking. He's really easy to work with. He's a very fast shooter, and he knows what he wants, and I love that because coming from the stage, I like kind of like instant gratification, instead of doing it like 100 times. I got a couple scenes in me. Let's just get it and go to the next thing. I don't like to wait on set all day. I mean, I will.
Oh, so you got kind of the Clint Eastwood effect of it.
Like, time is money kind of thing.
Right. Do you find there is a difference in how you approach something that is, say, for on the stage versus how you approach something that's for film? I know I know a lot of people who are burlesque and sideshow performers in Pittsburgh, and how they approach a character they're going to portray is completely different to, say, how an actor would. So can you speak a little bit to that? Is there a difference?
I mean, I always think of my career, but because I do in layman's term burlesque, it's kind of like I do more like if David Lynch kind of created a burlesque routine. It's like very gruesome, it's weird, it's surreal stuff. It's not like glitz and glam. It's very strange things.
I mean the burlesque performers I know are very much the same as what you're describing.
I like them already.
I want to see that so badly. I want you to peel it off. What, my clothes? No, your face.
Okay, anything for you, Mr. Lynch.
Yeah. Do you mind if I smoke? Because I don't care what your answer is.
Who gives a shit how many, how long a scene is? What's the line? It's something like that. But no, first of all, it's kind of like I've got to be inspired. That's where all of my creation comes from. It's like, do I like this? Am I inspired? Do I like who I'm working with, kind of thing? I like supporting creators too. So it's like a lot of times, it's like indie type budget stuff. So it's like if I'm there and I'm working fast, I gotta like the people that I want to support. But like for creating characters, like from stage to screen to just live performance dancing, I don't know. There's obviously more work that goes into a film because there's more scenes. But I always think of things in as a character, even my dance performances. It's like what makes sense, even if it doesn't make sense at all. What makes sense for the character? Like, what's their story? What's the objective? Like, how do I build? I mean, not to get too method, and not to make this a huge answer. And so I don't know if you want the short or the longer.
This is a podcast, so you can get as long and method as you want.
Yeah, I mean, for characters, I'll write their history. I'll learn, a trait. It just, I don't know. It depends on what the character is. A lot of times it's like, I'll end up being, let's say the pretty girl that nobody suspects, and then I'm a demon or I'm a murderer, which those are my favorite parts to play, because that's why I love genre so much, because they're really interesting parts for women, I can play a fun character and not just be I don't know, somebody's girlfriend, or you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
I want something that's creative and
I'm
fun.
writing down that if I'm directing a film, demon and murderer are going to be you.
Yes, please. Yes. Yeah, not recently, but we were talking about film, there hasn't been original stuff, and I was just thinking about what was that movie, Barbarian? That I felt like I went in blind on purpose. That's kind of
Me
my
too.
thing.
Same here.
I when there's a new original film, I avoid it like the plague. I don't read reviews. I will stop podcasts if they even mention the title at all. You know what I mean? I don't want to know anything. I want to go in there, and it's just such an interesting experience to me to not even know what genre it is. You know what I mean? I don't want to know anything. I just want to learn as we go. But that one got me. And then I ended up being friends with, I don't know, have you guys seen the film?
Oh, Barbarian?
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I ended up being just online friends with the guy who played Mother, which is like, that's a role that I want to play, you know? Like, I want to be like a crazy...
Yeah.
I'm so jealous of him.
I know the one that got me last year, and I mentioned this recently when we were at the Erie Horror Fest, was Pearl.
Oh, yeah.
That one got me.
Too.
That one, I had no idea what the hell it was about. I hadn't watched X. I went in completely cold, and then we saw it at the Warner Theater last year up at Erie, PA, and completely blown away by it. One, because it's like a horror movie about film from that particular era, the 1930s. So it just, like, it hit me in all the levels.
It was so good. Like, she deserved an Oscar. It was so
She was very good in it. Yeah.
I love her. Mia Goth. Oh my God. I mean,
Yes.
I had actually seen X. I love Pearl more than X personally.
Same here.
You know, like, but
Me
I
too.
love any kind of original, especially in the genre. So like, I try to support anything, but like, if I had to pick one, it's definitely like head over shoulders. Pearl was like so great to me, and oh God, so gross. Man, she's so amazing. I love her as an actress. Just everything that she's been, like Suspiria, all of it, you know.
Oh, that's right. She was in that.
Yeah, that was gruesome. I mean, like, I think of that as a different movie altogether, but, you know.
So where can people check out Bloody Bridget?
Well, right now, we're on a film festival run. So we're going to be, hopefully it might be done by the time this podcast is release, but this weekend, the 13th?
Yeah.
So that's like Friday the 13th, we're screening it at Famous Monsters Film Festival in Philadelphia. So I'm going to do a performance to open up a bloody burlesque performance to open up the film.
So
I won't hold it against you that you're in Philly and not Pittsburgh, but it's okay.
Although if you do want to show here in Pittsburgh, I got a couple of connections with you.
He
That's all I'm
does.
saying.
Oh,
We're just
okay.
saying
Well,
that,
let me know, because literally I'm always telling Rick, like, if we're already there, like, is there somewhere else that we can bring this show? You know,
I mean,
like,
Ryan, give her my email.
Philly's not close to Pittsburgh at all. There's
6
like
hours away.
it's 6 hours, but like it's 6 hours of like nothing.
Pennsyltucky.
It's Pennsyltucky.
Yeah.
well, we're gonna be there at Famous Monsters. I'll have to give you guys a heads up next time. But so we've got that, and then we've got Shock Fest in New York. We're doing another like burlesque opening with me, and that's kind of what we've been doing. Audiences love it because it's like I open up the film, and then like a second later, I'm on the screen doing. Well, I don't want to give things away, but I'm on the screen doing some fun stuff. So it's like
Bloody
pretty,
stuff.
it's pretty wild for the audience. And then we're gonna.
And so
what?
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Thanks. So after Shockfest, we're going to Morbido, which is like the biggest genre in South America. We're going to Mexico with that and doing some performances there. But yeah, we're kind of all over the place.
And who'd you guys get to score this movie? Howard Shore, Jerry Goldsmith? Who'd you guys get to score this movie?
A little unknown named Danny Elfman.
Oh, not that hack.
Not that guy.
But
he does everything.
But also with our dear friend and cartoon genius Ego Plum. So they both scored the film,
Nice.
and Danny did some interesting themes for the film as well. So we're blessed with wall-to-wall music on this one. Well, really, all of Ricky's films are wall-to-wall music.
Please forgive all my references to Danny. I may have worshipped that man along with Tim Burton growing up. I apologize.
No apology necessary. I actually have to like. I think I end up I come across a little shy because it's like all I want to do is like geek out and talk about stuff, but I have to remember it's like, oh, it's Thanksgiving. I can't do that right now, like, or it's like a family, we do like family Sunday, like barbecues, and he'll play volleyball, with his friends and stuff, and then we'll have like a barbecue afterwards. I was like, when can I talk about this certain thing? So I always have to wait until he's got like a performance, and then I can geek out.
See, I would love that. More green bean casserole, Danny?
So tell me what Nightmare Before Christmas was like.
Well, I was gonna say, like, I have read that your barbecues are legendary.
Oh yes,
I've heard that there is a thing that the Elfman barbecues are legendary.
Yes, well, Ricky and I host an underground performance art salon. We live in Hollywood under the Hollywood sign, and our house and property is like a 100-year-old like chateau, and we have a rooftop deck. And so Ricky, he's like an acclaimed grill master, and so we haven't done it lately just because of COVID, and then we also self-financed Bloody Bridget, on our own. So it's a completely, we love horror so much. We completely did one on our own. So it's indie.
I mean, that's as indie as you get.
Exactly.
Well, all I have to ask is how do two F- celebrity podcast schmucks from Pittsburgh get invited to one of these barbecues?
Well, once we start seeing some return on Bloody Bridget, so all the support is very helpful. I'm getting the word
Anastasia,
out.
I'm holding you to that. I'll be waiting for my evite.
Yes. So like when we start doing that again, it's really great. So Ricky Grills, we'll have like I think we've had like up to 100 people, at these.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like shoulder to shoulder, because it's like Hollywood, house, it's like it's not huge anywhere else except for in the Hollywood Hills, you know what I mean? But it's it's a classic, like Betty Davis lived here, John Lennon, Michelle Pfeiffer, Sarah Jessica Parker, and Robert Downey Jr. as a couple lived here for a few years. Actually, John Lennon, he spent like most of his Lost Weekend here, and he actually did like a mural on the roof deck. Yeah, isn't it crazy?
Well, small world. When I mentioned that this movie, Death Becomes, reminds me of What Happened to Baby Jane. There you go. There's Betty Davis right there.
There we go. You knew.
Yeah.
But yes.
Oh, so, but that's really cool.
Yeah, so we do like a performance, and lately I've been collaborating with my friend Morgan Sorn of Sorn, who's like this renowned singer who has 5 octaves, and he records himself and samples and harmonizes with himself live. And we have this show together called Vengeful Ways, which is like a very dark kind of Butoh performance that we do together, where he sings live and I do 3 different characters back to back. And it's a lot of times when you're seeing me perform, I do these like comedy, like a balloon number or something that's very like comedic, and this is like so 180 different for me, like very just very, very dark and different, like a demon, like very soul crushing, let's say. But it's fun. We have fun here.
Now I gotta ask: does the Hubs? Does he use the big green egg?
What
like the barbecue
grilling?
grill?
The
griller.
The grilling. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm a vegetarian, so I know nothing about the grilling.
Okay, yeah. I was like that silence. I was like,
what does that mean? I was like, did I miss something? Oh no, I don't know. You see, this is why he needs to come on the podcast, because he would be able to answer all of these questions. He uses like some.
We could just talk about food.
Well, literally, don't get him started. He was like a food and wine critic for a long time too, and a journalist, and then I got him back into making films. So, he's just done it all. But I don't know. It's some kind of like big grill. He has a couple of them, and he has like a Weber. He does different stuff. He does like lamb, wild boar, like all kinds of stuff. He'll even like toss it into the fireplace and cook it right there. He's
a little Dutch oven or aluminum foil right over the fire.
No, not even that.
Brian and
I forget what kind of wood it is. It's like mesquite or something like that he'll put it in the fireplace, and he'll surprise guests and just throw it in there, and nobody sees it coming, but I do.
Brian and I like to collaborate on a lot, but I would say we both like to cook a whole lot. Well,
cooking.
I'm probably more of the give me a kitchen with 6 burners. Like Brian is very much the grill master.
Yeah,
I bow down to him.
I love smoking meats. That's my thing, and doing all of that. But I respect people who like do it on the professional as your husband does. I simply do like it maybe a couple times a year. That's it.
He does it all the time.
Because it's a very long, exhaustive process.
But he also does it like veggies or tofu for me, and that's why we have people. We host all the time, and that's like, that's how we make deals. It's like having people over, like bonding over food and drinks. It's a classic caveman stuff.
Right. Awesome. Well, Anastasia, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on.
This has been
Thank
great.
you so
It
much.
really has been
Thank you
great.
so much.
Where can people find more information about you, about Bloody Bridget, and any of the work that you're working on? Because I really want people who listen to this to check out your film. I think more people need to take a look at indie films. I mean, you said that you guys really did go indie on this one. And I want people to watch it when it comes available to wherever that's screening at. And then, of course, I know eventually it'll probably go online.
Yeah, thank you. That's so kind. Yes. We definitely love film, and that's why we took this chance with it. So the support is so appreciated and getting it out there to everybody. Richard and I are both on Facebook and active, and the films have pages. Like Bloody Bridget has a page. We also did a wacky sci-fi comedy together called Aliens, Clowns, and Geeks. That has Vern Troy, his last performance.
Yeah.
And then
I saw a clip from that. That's a very weird movie.
Thank you. You try.
It's really good. I was just like I think like your stepson, Bodhi, is in it, and I'm just like, what is going on?
Yeah, it's wild.
What is going on?
You don't even know. Don't ask.
Good.
Just have a couple drinks. It's fine.
I know. I was just like, I'm here for the ride.
And then Rick's film Forbidden Zone just got a new director's cut, and it's been in color for a little bit, but like this is the version that he wants out there. And so that has a new like a Facebook page. We're all also on Instagram. I'm under my stage name, which is confusing, and I'm sorry, but it's Dahlia Demont on Instagram, and it's Anastasia Elfman on Facebook. And then so Rick's on Instagram, and all the film pages are on Instagram too. And Aliens, Cons, and Geeks and Forbidden Zone, they're both available online, like on Blu-ray for like people who love physical media, which is amazing. And they're also for streaming as well. And then Bloody Bridget will be too, like, once we're done with the Film Fest tour.
Awesome. Fantastic. I will make sure that we link to all of those pages, because I really want people to support indie film, and especially support your films, because as I said, they're unique in how bizarro they are, and I love that. Like, I love those sorts of movies, and you don't see enough of them. So I'm glad you came on. Glad we got to talk about Death Becomes Her.
Thank you for being so awesome.
Thank you guys. yes, for supporting genre, and especially indie genre. Like, let's get it going there. And thank you for having me, and thanks for seeing my little silly post about wanting to actually talk about films. And and just because like at that point it was kind of like with the SAG strike, it's like interviewers weren't having actors on, and I was like, I'm so much more than just an actress. Like, I'm an actual avid crazy cinema freak and horror kid, and like I know my shit, and ask me anything, kind of, and like, let's just talk movies, because I love cinema and I love what I do, and I'm so excited by movies and the whole experience, and just like, like I can come on a show and talk about that. But luckily we have our SAG waiver, so I can come on and talk about my films too.
That's good.
So I'm covered now.
There you go. Fantastic. Well, definitely check out Bloody Bridget. Check out Forbidden Zone, the director's cut, and definitely check out Clowns,
Aliens, Clowns, and Geeks.
Was it Clowns? Yeah. Aliens, Clowns, and Geeks.
Check out anything with the Elfman.
Yes,
check
all
out
of us.
anything.
We're all equally amazing and insane. I mean, more like Ricky and Danny more, and then obviously Jenna and Bodie and Molly. You know, all of them more than me. But I'm working on it.
Awesome. Fantastic. John, where can they find you at on the internets?
Let's see, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and no pressure, Anastasia, but I'm also on YouTube at JDubs Video Nasty.
I forgot.
You know what? I'll subscribe to you. You subscribe to me.
You got it.
We'll do a fair trade there. Yeah, JDubs Video Nasty. So if you want me without the Brian filter, I don't know why you would, but check me out over there. I will be having a Sixth Sense video, so many questions, coming out very soon here in honor of spooky season.
Fantastic. You can find me at Brian Collington on the Twitter, formerly what the fuck it is, I don't know, X.
Generation X.
Yeah, whatever. You can also follow the Psycho Show page on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Psycho Show. We are also on the TikToks for our Gen Z and millennial folk. We're there at Cinema Psycho Show. We also have a Discord channel. So if you really love Death Becomes Her and you want to talk about the movie with us, or, maybe you just want to say I love this movie or I hate this movie, come on our Discord channel and you can talk directly to us. Okay. The link for it's in the description of this episode. And of course you can go to our website, cinemapsychoshow.com, and send us some mail that way. Be sure to follow us wherever you listen to podcasts, or you can head over to cinemapsychoshow.com/follow, click the little button, and whatever device you have that gets your podcast, you can subscribe to us right there. And with that said, we will see you next time.
Thank you so much, Queen Anastasia. Let me know what to bring to the barbecue.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Have a good one.